Hey YouTube. Today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2015, and I am officially 1 year post-op to the exact date. Tuesday, June 9th, 2014 is when I went to Cleveland, Ohio, and had surgery with Dr. Medali. I had the peri-areolar keyhole procedure, the one that's they go in through the side and they do the lipo through the nipples. So I don't have big scars. I think I've done like a couple chest update videos, but I don't think I've ever really talked about my chest in much detail. I figure when being 1 year post-op, uh, there's a lot to talk about. So this is what it looks like now. Everything is, I believe, as it should be. Everything is placed where it should be placed and is muscular up here where it's supposed to be muscular, and hopefully the more I work out, some down here will appear. We'll see. Yeah, so like I said, I had the peri keyhole procedure, which I think in both the peri and the double incision, they take off the nipples. But either way, I'm happy with like the placement, which may sound weird to some folks, but whatever. I don't really have many tags. I know it looks like in certain light this is this here or whatever, but I don't know. I think this is the way it's been, and it just doesn't really feel like extra. It just feels like it's supposed to be there. Yeah, Dr. Medali did a really good job. I'm really happy with how everything looks and how everything's healed. Um, yeah, so like I said, I haven't really done a chest update before, like not one that's really, not a video that's solely about my chest. And I figure now that I'm in a really good headspace to do that, I should. I kind of feel like I owe it to folks. So if you've seen any of my videos from last year, some of you will know that I did a summer program for the school I went to, or I'm going to. And move in and everything started a week and a half after I got my drains removed. So I was still pretty tender and pretty freshly operated on. And if you have had surgery, or if you know much about surgery, you know there's like a 6 week time period before you can do any lifting above 10 pounds. Well, so move-in was a week and a half after everything got removed, and I still have my compression vests, and I was like, well, I'm not lifting too much. I can do this. And if you've done move-in at any school, you know there's these big, huge crates you put all your heavy stuff in, and you can just wheel it up to your room, and everything's good. We did that, but I still lifted a lot, and it was about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks from out of surgery, and lifting a lot caused my stitches around my nipples to not tear necessarily, but they pulled and they stretched. On this side, it was a little worse. I could see like inside, underneath all the gross stuff, and it was not very pretty. This side was a little less severe. It just kind of pulled more directionally than actually apart. um, the stitches themselves, some of them, so a few of the stitches pulled, but some of them, on the top were fine, as you can see, like, it's not too bad. But it was a pretty bad experience. The stuff I was using, like, as directed on the post-op care sheets, weren't, the antibacterial cream wasn't really doing what it should have been doing for as bad of a wound as I had, I guess, if that makes sense. So when it wasn't healing properly or as quickly, we called Dr. Medali, and he prescribed some really strong stuff, some like iron-based antibacterial cream. And in a few days, it did what it took 4 or 5 weeks for the other cream to do. So what happened is basically I fucked up, and I really mess with the scarring, which is something that I was very self-conscious about for a while, and I'm still a little self-conscious about it. But really, what I want to get out of this video is, I know in a lot of my Instagram posts when I'm shirtless, I want to document how my chest has progressed and healed, but I also never really talked about how hard it was right after surgery. because I don't really know how to explain it. You know, I'm better at writing, but I feel like it can only be explained verbally. So this is my explanation. So tearing the stitches was a really hard thing to go through during school. I was pretty, I was relatively out. People knew I was trans. They didn't really know. They knew I had just had surgery, and they were like, "Damn, dude, like that's how hardcore." And I was like, I didn't really have a choice. This program was necessary. Like you had to do this program if you wanted to go to this school. It was a requirement. And so I was doing classes, and I was living in the dorm by myself while I was, morning, nights, dressing and undressing my bandages. And then a month later, I started testosterone. So the entire last summer was really a big adapting phase for me. I had to really get used to my new body and what was changing in such a quick amount of time, that I never really got to process things the way I had hoped. So I think the biggest thing that I struggled with was top surgery. I knew that right when I came out, that's what I wanted. I wanted top surgery and testosterone. And when I was 12 years old, I was like, this is the goal. This is like my end game right here. And so it had never been a question of whether or not I was going to get top surgery. It was when. And so I knew it was going to be a big change, but I feel like knowing the facts and really having the experience are extremely different things. So I think it really hit me how much of a change I had just undergone when we got home from getting my drains removed, and I still have my vest, and there's still a lot of bruising. And I opened it, and I knew that I wasn't gonna have sensation for a while, or possibly ever. But until my hand made contact with my skin, and I didn't feel it, it never really hit me like, oh my god, this is my new reality. And I want to make very clear, like I said, like this top surgery was very important. I needed this for my transition, for my health, for my mental stability, and I don't regret any of it. I just was not prepared. I don't think anyone can really be prepared for anything like that. And I spent years watching videos of guys and their top surgeries and the reveals, and smiling so wide. And I smiled when I saw my chest. There was nothing but joy. But it was after that. It was the reality. It was the fact that I had finally done this that really I had to figure out. And so that paired with being in Bridge, being in school, and being surrounded by really awesome people, but not being able to talk to many people who might understand, and not sure how to talk about it, and who wouldn't cringe away from what I was talking about. Because this is pretty gnarly stuff. Like I could see things that I'm never going to forget seeing inside of my body just from my stitches pulling, So, I don't know, I feel like it's not really fair for me to post about how I'm healing without really talk about how I'm healing, if that makes sense. So, there's the physical aspect. Everything's fine now. Everything, the little crater or whatever that was there has filled in since then. The side is filled in. Everything looks the way it should. But it was how I got here that I don't really talk about, because it was such a really rough experience. And I feel like, for whatever reason, it's a very personal thing. A lot of people don't want to talk about it if they go through it. And I didn't want to talk about it because I was really struggling. I didn't regret it, but I was wondering, like, what is happening? What did I do? And I was scared. I was scared that I messed up my healing process when my stitches pulled. I was scared that I was never going to feel completely relieved, or at least the same relief that I had seen other guys talk about. And I didn't know why I was feeling that way, and I felt guilty for not being more excited and more enthusiastic, because that was what I was supposed to feel, right? Like that was the ultimate thing. Your breasts are gone, you're free, and why look back? And I guess, I don't really have an explanation for why I felt that, other than that I just did, and I didn't know how to deal with that, because I hadn't seen many people talk about their own experience with not being as overjoyed and not being as excited, and I felt, like I said, like I felt guilty for that. And so it took about, honestly, it wasn't even until like 6 months post-op that I really was like, oh my gosh, this is really great. Because it is. I mean, I'm in a position that many people aren't, and that you as a kid, or as someone, a little younger teenager, was like, oh my god, that's what I want to achieve. And I have achieved it, and I'm happy now. But I feel like it's not fair for me to kind of project this thing like, oh, it was so easy, yours could be as easy, but because it wasn't. And I mean, it's easier than it could have been, but it wasn't as easy as it could have been at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. I have my own struggles. Everyone has their own struggles with their transition, and I feel like if I really want to be transparent and be honest about my journey, I have to be honest about the fact that I was not completely happy at that time, that I should have been, or that I thought I should have been, and that's okay now. That unhappiness and that like confusion is how I got here, because I had to go through that, and I had to feel kind of lost in what was going on with my body. So much happened, like a month between starting T and top surgery, and still again being in a summer school program. That was a lot to handle, and that was a lot for me to try and work my way through. And I don't know, yeah. So I guess what I'm really getting at is, like I said, I want to be honest, and I want to acknowledge that it's okay if you're not completely or not even satisfied. I was satisfied. I was satisfied, but I wasn't like overjoyed, if that makes sense. I bought a hat. I like it. It works. This worked. This was what I meant. This is what I wanted to happen. But it just took a while for my emotions to kind of catch up with my body, I guess, in a way. But a year later, I've worked very hard to get to where I am. Between intermittent gym sessions and really working on finding positive things about my journey, and understanding that I am where I'm supposed to be at this point in my life, and that this, in the grand scheme of things, is just a part of my life. I've really come to accept all of that and understand that I had to have that rough patch before I got here. Because now, like, yo, I'm happy being shirtless. I'm very happy going to a beach or going swimming, and, so my nipples look a little weird, so the areola looks darker on one side, or it's bigger on one side because of the healing thing. So what? That's it happened. I can't really do anything about it except for accept the fact that it did. So yeah, I think that's where I am with my 1 year post-op. I'm happy being a year post-op, but it's been a very interesting year, and I definitely want to give a shout out to Dr. Medali for doing such great work, and a shout out to my parents, because like they listened, and they were some of the only people who I could talk to, even if they couldn't completely understand. They listened, and they didn't say, you spent all this money and you waited this long, you should be happy. It's like, it's a big change. A perk of living with social workers. And yeah, so it's been a journey, obviously, like everything is. I'm 11 months on testosterone, and so those two things have definitely they go hand in hand for me. I didn't have a year in between. I had a month, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. Now I'm glad everything happened when it did, because I waited so long. But yeah, so I am a month post-op. I am working on chest muscle. I'm working on accepting the fact that it took so long to get to this area of self-confidence, and I want people to know it's okay. That's the biggest thing. I want people to know that what you're feeling is okay, even if it's not what you think you should be feeling. You can't control how you react to things or how you process things necessarily. And we all process things different. Our journeys are never the same. And so I feel like it's important, and I owe it to folks, and that it's not right for me to project this image of, look at him, he skated through this. And I appreciate that. I do appreciate that people see that I'm so happy. And I don't want to be like, no, I struggled so hard, because it's not like that. It's just owning up to the fact that I did struggle, but that I worked through it, and that everyone struggles, and that it's okay. You don't have to be happy just because you think you have to be. You feel what you feel. I felt scared. I felt angry at myself. I felt unsure and confused. but that's alright. That's part of your journey. So this is my 1 year update. I know it was kind of scatterbrained, but that's where I am. And yeah, it's been a really interesting few weeks. I moved home from school, and I have some great news to share with you all, but that's going to have to wait for now. But I'm hoping to update more often now that I'm home and I don't have schoolwork. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope that it made sense. Sorry if it didn't, but that's where I am 1 year post-up. And I'm happy. So, alright, I'll see you later.